Hello vinyl community, this is Mike with TCAT's Deep Vinyl Tracks. I thought I would come on here today and do a video about some of the best deals I've found over the years. Most of these, that is in vinyl, most of these come from like thrift stores, garage sales, antique shops, things like that. And I've been a frequent visitor of these kind of places for several years now, and I thought I would get on here and show some of my best ones that I've found at some of the most unbelievable prices. And just to let you know, these things are still available out there. It's always fun to go in and find that grail, if you will, or whatever, at a really good price. And this first one I found a while back, and I don't remember exactly where I found it, but I do remember it only cost me $1, because it was just amazing that I even found it in the first place. This is one that you don't see very often. It's Buckingham Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks before they joined Fleetwood Mac. So this was their first album they did together as a team, and found that one. It's actually selling for a lot more money, in great condition, and this one is. When I bought it, it looked like it never been played, and it's still in just pristine condition. So that's the first one, again for 50 cents, that I found at a thrift store. Leonard Cohen's recent songs. This is not a very that's the wrong word. It's not a very easy to find album in the first place, and to find it for 50 cents makes it even that much more exciting. So that was a great one. Of course, it had the inner sleeve, and it's on the Columbia label, just in perfect condition. The next one is actually a pair of albums. I found them at the same time, and these were $1 a piece. I believe I got them from a thrift store or an antique shop. I don't remember. They obviously didn't know who they were. But Hawkwind, Quark, Strangeness and Charm, and Hall of the Mountain Grill. Now, Hawkwind albums are a bit hard to find, and when you do, you usually have to pay a lot more money than $1 for them. But both of these had the inner sleeves, both of them in really great condition. One on Sire Records, and this one comes on United Artists Records. So there you go. And that one also had the original inner sleeve in it. These are both OG copies, which are hard enough to find, and hard even at an expensive price. Another one that I found at 50 cents. Again, obvious the store didn't know what they had, but this is the replacements, and this is the album Eskimo. This is probably the Residents' most highly sought after album. It got the best reviews out of, I think, all of them that they did. And of course, it's the Residents, so it's a little bit quirky, but this one is actually a lot more respected than a lot of the stuff they've put out. And that you can really begin to understand that these were not just people goofing around, but they actually knew what they were doing as far as music. There it is on the custom label. And I don't think I've seen a copy of that ever since I bought that. This is one that I was really surprised about. I think I had just started doing looking in thrift stores, and this was one of the first ones I got. This was sitting there amongst all the Perry Como, Lawrence Welk albums. You never expected to find it. It was right in the middle of them. I would never have found it if I hadn't been digging. But this is an album called Oh Holy Fools. I knew this was a very important album for me. I knew I'd probably never see it again in my life, which I haven't. But this is actually a split album, a full split album between the artists Sun Ambulance and Bright Eyes. Sun Ambulance, you have not too many people have heard of that artist, but Bright Eyes is one that's definitely quite popular. And this is one of the first albums. I don't think this is even in print anymore. And it was sitting there in all the 50-cent records, brand spanking new, perfect condition. Not too long ago, when I was still living in Ontario, I dropped by the Goodwill bins store, where they had all these bins where they just throw stuff in there. They come out and bring a new bin out every 10-20 minutes, and people just crowd around it and dig like crazy. And they threw out a whole bunch of blues records, and unfortunately I was standing at the wrong place. I ended up with several Edgar Winter records, and there was a guy there who wanted a couple of them, and I traded with a couple of his. This was one of them, Howlin' Wolf, The Real Folk Blues. Now this, if you've ever been to one of these bin stores, you pretty much pay for the pound on this stuff, so I can't even tell you how cheap this was. Probably just pennies on the dollar. And this is on the original chest label, so that was real exciting to find. I got a couple of others at the same time, but I just mostly wanted to show that one because probably one of the more recognizable names. Again, for $1, this was just sitting in with the records in a thrift store. XTC Oranges and Lemons. I know, I couldn't believe it either. It's one of those jaw-dropping moments when you see this sitting there and it's like, surely they want more than $1 for that. And nope, that's how much it costs. And it's in perfect shape. 2 records inside. Of course, it's got the original inner sleeves on the Virgin label. Both of them look just brand new. It's almost like maybe he played once when I got them. This is a band that, you know, you find them from time to time. People haven't caught on to them yet, I don't think, as far as how much their albums are worth. This is probably more of a recent find, but I've been looking for this band now. After a couple of years, I've been finding their records here and there, but this one again was 50 cents, and at the time I couldn't believe it. Now it's just one of those that people don't know, so you usually can find these. But it's Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth is a great band if you've never heard of them. They're one of those bands that kind of snuck by everybody when they came out in the 70s. And this is, I believe, their second or third album. I'm not sure. But great album. This was my first Babe Ruth album that I found. And now I think I have 4 of their albums. I'm still missing one. That's on the Harvest label. Another one that a lot more people actually know, but if you're not in the know, then you'd probably go right by this band. And it's another one of those bands that were around in the 70s that people kind of just didn't know about. At least I know I didn't hear of them. It's the band Love, and this is their album For Sale. Now I know a lot of people have seen the another one of their albums. This one is one that you don't see as often, so of course I snatched it up. The only thing is it had that little writing on the cover, but the record itself is just wonderful condition on a brown Electra label. Great psychedelic music. This one I found at a yard sale. They were 50 cents a piece. She had boxes and boxes and boxes laid out on tables, and I actually flipped through all of them. I think I found only 2 records amongst all of those, but the most surprising one is one that I'd been searching for forever and I never expected to see there. McDonald and Giles. This is the record put out. They were both part of King Crimson. This was the record they put out after that debut album, after they were both out of the band. And there you go. That was one of my favorite finds, I think, for 50 cents. Hard to believe. The sleeve isn't in the greatest of conditions, but the album itself is perfect. If I can get it out of here. There you go. The Cotillion label. So it is a Canadian pressing, but in such perfect shape. I went into another thrift store. I found these next two in the same place, and it was unbelievable because they had all these records for 25 cents, and I'd been in there a couple of days in a row, and each time they had different records out. The last time I went, these are 2 that I found, 25 cents. David Bowie's Hunky Dory. And anytime you see David Bowie for 25 cents, of course your jaw is going to drop. And again, just wonderful condition. The orange RCA label. And probably my most favorite and legendary find would have to be one that was in the kids section in that same store. They put all their kids' records together, had them for 25 cents. My wife was looking through them, and she pulled this one out and said, "Is this one worth anything?" 25 cents. And they thought it was a kid's record. Grateful Dead, Europe 70. I have to look at the year, 72. Couldn't remember the year. And again, beautiful condition. All 3 records play just great. There you go. The label with the Deadhead on there. And I mean, that's a once in a lifetime find. You never find anything by the Grateful Dead for 25 cents. I think I would consider myself rather lucky if I did happen to run across another Grateful Dead record of any kind for 25 cents. So there you have it. That's just some of them. I've got more than that. I'll decide if I want to do a second video with some more amazing finds that I've had over the years. But those are some of my favorites, some of my best ones, and I hope you enjoyed watching that. Some of these you may have seen me show before, but it's been quite a while. So thank you for watching, and we will talk to you again.